I'd like to call the April 21st, 2026 OEA Board meeting to order. Welcome everyone. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we call the roll this morning. Steve Hargraves. Present. Deborah Trent.
Here.
Lynn Snyder. Here. John Gilland's here. Steve Nelson.
Present.
Jamie Galmatia. Absent. Harry Mullenhour.
Here.
Melody Anderson.
Present.
At this time, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, there should be something on the new schedule that came out. We did get completed lift station rehabilitation for NW3, if the board would be so inclined to look at that and consider it this morning. It was on the new schedule. Did a paper copy get put in? Okay, so it's for NW3. Just as background, this is up in the northwest section where Mallard Landing and 100 new homes are going in to our, that are going to be attached to our existing wastewater lift station, and there will be a few homes with the Mallard Landing extension project that the OUA is doing. So in advance of those 140 new homes coming on, the station is relatively old. We directed staff to go through it for rehabilitation, to look at the need for new pumps, piping, control pan, whatever it was needed. And that's what you find in your board package this morning, a quote from a contractor to replace pumps and piping. Mr. Mullis was tasked with putting this agenda item together, but we'd be happy to, if you would like to consider it. Otherwise, we'll put it on next month's board package. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry.
So we need a motion to accept this, John?
Yes, sir.
Who's voting today?
So, Steve and Tabitha, John and Harry and Steve Hargraves, the regular members.
Make two motions, we wrote it up as two.
Well, actually, there'll be three. One to accept it as an addition, and then there'll be two motions under so there would be, yes, sir, one motion to accept it as an addition to the board package, if the board is wishing to consider this.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we accept it as part of the board package.
Motion by Mr. Mullenhour,
Second.
second by Mr. Steve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign?
So in the board package, you will see that there is a quote from industry standard at $31,871 to provide all the labor and incidental material work. And there's a second request of $38,908.36 for the OUA to pre-purchase pumps and the associated mechanical hardware to go with those pumps, bases, leads, all that type of deal. So the total, it's not down here, but it's roughly $70,000 investment in NW3, which will complete the rehabilitation of that lift station. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't think I got any questions on that. I put it all under that over there.
We have a motion to accept the bids.
Motion to accept the bids as stated.
This would be the bid for the industry standard at $31,871.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Nelson, And second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Second motion would be for the OUA to purchase the associated pumps and hardware at $38,908.36.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Mrs. Trent to approve that purchase.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
So, we need a motion to pass the consent agenda as presented. Are there any questions?
Any items to be pulled?
Motion to accept the consent agenda as presented from item 4 through item 24.
Have a motion by Mr. Nelson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Okay. Motion to approve the meeting minutes from the March 18th, 2026 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mrs. Trent. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Meeting minutes from April 6th. Would have been the workshop. Any questions on that? I'm assuming, did everybody get a copy of the video? Any questions on that? I didn't get mine.
I believe the word is that everyone else's was delivered. They were home, got it, except for, you, who weren't, was not home.
Any?
Are you looking for a motion?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Have
To
a motion
approve.
by Mrs. Trent to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes. This time we'd open the floor for public comments. No public comments. Have a motion to close it.
Make a motion to close.
Close, motion by Mrs. Trent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, it was cut off here. This time we have the finance report.
Page 2. Right. See this X, click that X, and you'll get more of a screen. Go up to the X, under bit, yeah, no, down, or to the right. Yeah, no, yes. Okay. Then click down, yes.
Okay. Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, so the finance report is presented for the first 6 months, the first half of this fiscal year. We have gone through 6 months from October to March 31st. So we pretty much looking how are we tracking. We should be at the half point in terms of our budgets and comparison to the last year, how are we doing? So if I try to expand this a little bit more, sorry,
What are you trying to do?
no, I'm good. I was trying to just carry it over a little bit.
Grab the bar to the right.
Yeah. Okay, so we're good right here. Now, if we look at the water and sewer line, just by going up here, we're seeing in terms of the water, we're just in line with our budget, which means where we had planned to be at the end of the 6 months, we're exactly there. In terms of comparison to last year, we are approximately 4.8% ahead of last year. But we have to think in terms of we had a 4% rate adjustment. So we are in line with our actual budget. And if we remove our rate adjustment, we are slightly ahead of what we did up to this point last year. So in summary, I would say that for water, we are in line. And when you go to the sewer, it's the same. We are just in line with our sewer. We are 1.5% ahead compared to last year. Again, it is roughly the same. It's 5.4%. When you back out the rate adjustment, it therefore means that we are pretty much in line in terms of what we have been doing. So we have been consistent in terms of the budget and doing a little better than what the 4% adjustment had projected. In terms of the other revenue line, 515,000, we're on page 2. In terms of that line detail is provided on page 16, but the main thing is any miscellaneous or unplanned revenue that we get during the year. For example, we got a check from our payroll third-party provider for a payroll remittance. We also got a tip. Our insurance company, once we do meet our safety requirement and our spending, they generally refund us $5,000 each year. So we got those funding. So here we have a number of unplanned miscellaneous revenue. Total, overall, we are seeing that we are 4.2% ahead in terms of the variance, the dollar value, 7.5 versus 7.2. Of course, last year it was 7.46 million right here. So we are doing better than what the budget had basically stated, marginally better, and we are in line with it, with the budget, I would say. In terms of the expenses, we are showing a favorable variance, and last month we said we will take a little bit more closer look to see what has, is there any unplanned or any planned expense to come. And we started that exercise. We're seeing we have spent 4.7 million versus a budget of 5.8. That's roughly about $1 million below. We do see that there are some large items. For example, there was a water master plan that's roughly $350,000. So those things, there are a number of things that we are seeing that are scheduled to come later on in the year. And of course, there's some month 13, some year-end expense, end of year expenditure. So we won't end the year with such a large variance here, but there are some things that we do have scheduled in the second half of the year. And then when I come down to the other revenue, we do know that the water and sewer capital connection, we made a very conservative projection, but we have had some sizable income in terms of like Lakefront Estate. We spoke about those, like the large check that came in. The South Florida Water Management District, they had a sizable amount as well for both water and wastewater on the capital connection. So those are unplanned in the budget, so that's accounted for such a large gap, variance. In the interest, we break out the interest over 3 lines, but in the total, on the interest side, our actual interest between operating payroll and restricted, those total $220,000. And the budget for these 3 total 185. And the reason for that, when we were preparing the budget, the interest rate was scheduled to be reduced, so we had taken a more conservative approach and placed 2.5% interest in the budget at that time. We are getting just about 2.85% right now on our bank deposits. So we're doing a little bit better, and that accounted for that interest revenue. On the interest expense side, that's in line with what we had budgeted, and also on the non-cash, which is the depreciation, we're also in line, showing a 1.679 versus a 1.662. So we're in line with that in terms of course, there's some other supporting schedule that we won't go in. I know we have a large agenda item today, but there are some other support. You do have some graphs, some line graphs, some bar charts, and basically representing the same thing from different perspectives for us to see at a glance how the movement has been. And then the balance sheet is on page 12 and 13, or 13 and 14, that shows how the movement between the 2 years has been. But overall, again, when you look, we are exactly in line with where the budget is, and on the revenue and on the expense side. The second half of the year will be, we're expecting to see some uptick in the expenses. So that's the finance report. Any question anyone has, having looked through the report, that you'd like us to address before we ask for a confirmation of this report?
If there's not any questions, I just need to add one item here. Again, under this restricted revenue funds, keep in mind those monies, when they come in, are unplanned, because we never know when a developer is going to finish a project and make the connection. So those monies come in, we cannot project those. But the other interesting part is, as the title implies, it goes into our restricted funds. So it is to be used for other capital projects and expenses at some time in the future, and has no impact on our annual budget. So just, I like seeing that number, and it will help pay for projects in the future, but it has zero impact on the current fiscal year budget.
Larson, when you put capital purchases in the budget, is it put in a specific month, or is it just a general number of all capital purchases?
It's a general. So, and we're coming to that later on there's a Schedule D, which will list all the items. That is not by per month. We have the total that we will do for the fiscal year.
So is the reason we have a surplus because there's capital purchases that have not been made?
Not, you mean the surplus that is being shown
Yeah.
here? Two separate things. No,
Okay.
this is actually capital surplus in terms of, as Mr. Hayford said, these are revenue that are set aside for future capital investment. But on the capital side, we have established the budget for what we are actually going to spend in the year, and that will come later on in the budget sheet.
So are you looking for, you're looking for a specific month that we would replace equipment? And
Right.
then you would see that
See
money
that on-
spent.
yeah, right.
I know what he's asking.
Yeah. So we don't track that by month, but there's a report you had asked us board meeting to give an update as to how we are doing with those capital. And there is an item, and I remember the agenda number, but there's an item later on that we
Okay.
will explain where we are and what is planned for those things.
But the other things that factor into this are our annual expenses, and they're gonna be cyclical during the year, whether it's chemicals, power. And it doesn't always, as the way he presents it here, it's a straight line average for 12 months average. It does not necessarily always mimic what's happening in the real world out there for us because of, the population changes, temperatures, so there will be some cycles that way.
I do have a quick question, please, Larston.
Mm-hmm.
When we have here the preliminary investigation of the differences between year-to-date expenses and budget, under item A, the staff resignations and retirement being replaced by market availability of applicants, what are we seeing in the difference of those that have left versus what we're looking to pay?
So, so what has happened is that we have had some higher paid persons
Right.
exiting the system. And as we try to replace with licensed operators and licensed persons, what we have been seeing, we have been taking in some trainings. And therefore, they're entering at the lower level and being given some time to come up to the level of their competence.
I was just curious as to what difference are we seeing between
In terms
those
of
levels?
dollar volume,
Yeah. You don't have
I will have to look
Okay,
at
that's
that
fine.
to quantify.
Okay. Since you pointed that out, I was curious
Yeah.
as to what the, okay.
So do we have a motion to approve the budget as presented?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Mrs. Trent,
Second.
and a second by Mr. Nelson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion passes. Next is the executive director selection, is that correct? Okay. So Larson, you and Greg want to step out for a minute while we discuss?
Okay.
So I really appreciate everybody that came and participated in the interviews and all of Tammy and John's work to prepare everything for us. We did have some really good applicants, I felt like, which is making this decision pretty tough, I would say. So at this time, I think if we could start at one end and go to the other, and everybody kind of give their number one pick and their thoughts on that, or what their thoughts are, why they picked this person. Steve, you want to start?
Sure. Good morning.
With that heat.
Yeah, right. You kept doing this to me during the interview, too.
You asked a lot of good
I love you,
questions.
man.
Yeah.
You asked a lot of good questions.
Yeah. It's been quite a experience. I do a lot of interviews every year, and a lot of them I don't enjoy. I actually enjoyed sitting through several of the interviews. But I was down to two, which for me would have been Greg Kennedy and Jennifer. And obviously, that Jennifer has backed out. I meant my selection would be Greg at this point, but I was going to walk in here this morning still undecided. I mean, it really, both of them really impressed me. Both were different qualities, different kind of fields, so to speak. I meant not fields, but where they were at, in their careers. I feel that Greg has been here. I wish that it was a little bit longer, but I believe with the guidance of the board, the help of the OUA employees and staff, I believe that he can be successful in his position, in that position. So that would be my pick.
Melody, I know you weren't here, that you received a video.
Yeah, I did, and I was pretty much the same as Steve, Jennifer. They were all impressive, really, but I think I would like to go with Greg. You know, most of them are qualified. I was just really impressed with Greg's background.
Eric?
I'll agree that Greg gave a great interview. I'm not sure he has enough experience. I think I would probably, my initial support would go to Chad.
Glenn? Did you get to watch the videos?
I got the videos. I think I'm going to leave it up to the real board to make the decision because I don't feel like I have enough experience.
Thank you. Steve?
I wasn't here. I did go over the video quite a few times, and I did read their bios quite a few times. In my opinion, the Chinese gentleman had the most qualification, but I don't think he was the right fit for OUA. One question that I do have, and this is going to come out from left field, would be if John would consider staying on for another year while one of the gentlemen that most people have chosen could gain a little bit more education into the OUA and possibly, what do you call it, see where that goes. If John didn't agree to possibly staying on for another year, in my opinion, I would go with Mr. Kennedy as well, based upon the interview and based upon the bios that I read. My first choice was Jennifer, okay, based upon how she presented herself in the interview, and the questions that you asked, as well as yourself, sir, over there. Unfortunately, she backed out with that regard. So that's where I stand.
Mr. Trent?
Well, all the candidates interviewed very well, and each one of them have their specialty and expertise in their fields, as Harry stated. Jennifer was phenomenal. She really was. She would have added a whole nother depth to the OUA. But we don't have her candidate to choose from now. So I will say that Chad is very well-rounded. Chad brings experience to the table. Chad brings the engineering aspect that most of you said that we needed from before. Greg interviewed very well. Greg is very strong in operations. If there was more time, as you alluded, he would be someone to take under John's wing and train so that he would be the successor of his position. He was very open as far as what his strengths were and his shortcomings were, and I appreciated that. So Steve, you were right on there. Larston himself is very experienced in the finance aspect of things, but you know, if we had the perfect combination of the two together right now, that would be one thing. I'm torn between, based on what we have left, I'm torn between Chad and Greg.
John, would you consider staying on for another year? Would you consider it?
Certainly I would consider it, but again, I think we need to get through this process to decide if there's somebody capable, and if there isn't, then I would be inclined to stay on. I mean, the interest is to finish for OUA, but I don't want my answer to take away from these 4 candidates. So I would appreciate if y'all would follow through with your decision, and if you're not agreeing with either one of the 4 candidates, and I appreciate the consideration, but can we do this first and then do the other? So the answer is, I would consider it, but I'd like to prefer going through this first.
Well, and I had also asked John too, you know, from a consulting standpoint, would he be available? And your answer was?
You know, you mean as a part-time type of deal? I'm torn with that answer too, and I'll explain why I'm torn. If I was still lurking around the hallways, there's always going to be people that are still going to come to me for answers, and I'm not the go-to person. So I'm torn with that idea. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying I'm still kind of torn with that. So, yes, but I'll be like you, I'll be on the political fence going left or right on that one.
So, you know, it was a difficult decision to make, and I did like Jennifer, and we actually kind of pulled Jennifer in at the end to put her on the list. But, you know, John has given us a couple years' notice, plenty of time, and when I came on board, we did not have an assistant director, and I don't know that there ever was that position in the past. And part of the reason for that was to get somebody in place to take John's place when he retired. And I think we picked a great candidate, is Greg Kennedy. And not saying anything negative, but in Greg's interview, he wished that he would have been involved in more things in the OUA to learn more about what John does. And I totally understand John's position that this has been his baby for 25 years. And it's hard to turn some things loose. I've experienced that myself. But I do feel like we made a good decision with Greg, and I'm going to stick with that. That Greg is my pick because of that. And I think what Greg's done since he's been here, getting involved in some of the things he talked about, and that he's got some different ideas than everybody does, and that's what we need, is another fresh look. That Greg is my selection. That's who I would support, and I think he'll be able to get the resources or the people behind to do a good job.
So
And get another good assistant director.
and that being said, a good assistant director, I would love to reach out to Chad, because Greg did state in his interview, 5-6 years, and I respect that, and I respect the honesty. So I personally would love to reach out to Chad to see if he would be interested in the assistant position, and make sure that he would be groomed, if we do end up going with Greg, that he would be ready for that position. That would be my perfect world, so to speak.
That would be determined after we appointed director.
So let me just add this one thing. The assistant director position, that would be a fine consideration that it was succession-wise moving up. But you have to understand the paramount reason for bringing the person in is to get stuff off of the executive director, so the executive director can do the general stuff as opposed to project specific. And the reason why that's most beneficial, if you look at it from that standpoint, if that person were to succeed and move up, they knew the basis of what was going on in the OUA, so when they moved up, they could still have that grand view. So whichever way we go, whoever you choose, that position is still very, very valid to the day-to-day operations of conducting business that needs to happen. So if you do select Greg, well, now we've created a hole in the executive director, which the executive director, by the interlocal agreement, is tasked with filling. Does that mean the other candidate can't do it? Absolutely. And it would be something that they would have to explore. But just so you know that it's, in the short time that Greg has been here, a lot was dumped on him, but you can only feed him so much so quickly, and it just didn't take time. So another year, 2 years, the quiver would be filled with arrows, and he would be the hunter, right? I mean, it would be very, very good. So learn as you go, and you gain experience of the OUA. That's what we all, and the Chads, and I'll apologize to Jennifer right now, I can't type, I left a W off her name, but they would be in that same boat. They know nothing about the OUA. They'd have to learn the OUA, but they bring other things to the table, which made them valid candidates. So that's kind of where I leave it.
And ultimately, that's where I was with all of it. I mean, we're ultimately sitting in the same boat. We're saying, yeah, we wish Greg would have had more experience. None of these candidates on the board have the experience with OUA. Greg is the only one that has any experience with OUA, and I think that goes a long way.
Well, by bringing Chad on, that fills the void of having to go out and hire an engineer. And as you said, if Greg's going to be at X amount of years, by that time, Mr. Rooks would be well groomed to move up to take that position. And then it would be easier to fill his position at that time.
Yeah.
So I think we made a very good decision, if the board follows through on it.
Well, we'd still have to find out if Chad's even interested, so let's,
That would be correct, yes.
that's where we have to go with it.
Yes.
Any other comments? Questions? Do we have a motion?
I make the motion at this time that we proceed with the hiring of Mr. Greg Kennedy to fill the shoes, hopefully, of our executive director, Mr. John Hafer.
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion by Mr. Nelson and a second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So what we would like to do.
Wait.
What we would like to do is to have a board member work with our attorney to put together a package to present to Mr. Kennedy if he accepts the offer. Do we have a board member that would like to do that?
I guess.
Okay, Mrs. Trent.
No pressure, John.
Again,
Right.
it's me.
I love you. That's on record.
Okay.
So again, I would think the process would be, Ms. Trent and Steve could get together to pencil together and even work with Greg over the next few weeks trying to agree on a contract which would include the salary and bring that back to the board for review, discussion, and acceptance at the next meeting.
You good with that?
Steve, are you good with that?
Now, you won't stick around another year?
Sir.
Now that we have that done, you won't stick around another year?
I do have to consult with higher authority, and she's not here. How's that for an answer? You know, look, I've always lived, for work, and if needed, I would certainly serve in whatever capacity that's needed. If it was part-time, then I would tell you after talking to my significant other, Greg would have a lot to say about that. So he would be the new director if this all works out, and it would really be his call. So the short answer is, I'm not saying no, but I'm saying there's a couple things that I would like to work through before saying yes. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah, it would be tough for John to be available too much, just like your comment. People would want to come to you and go around Greg, and that's not a good environment.
Well, it's just tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And the other thing, and I didn't mention, but this factors into it, and all of you that do make decisions understand this, if you don't get all the information, you can't make a good decision.
That's right.
So, again, that's where the hesitancy. Now, if somebody asked me, hey, remember this project, then I'm all about helping out with previous stuff. But projecting forward, that would easily be the new executive director to make those kind of calls. So, yes, I'll be here to help. So,
Okay.
Does that help? Okay.
Yes.
Now,
All right.
Wait 1 second before I had a question. How is Lawson going to perceive this?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Possibility that Lawson may.
That'll be his choice. I don't know how that'll be up to him.
Suppose he decides to make a change. What is our plan?
Well, our plan would be dependent upon how, you're talking about if he chose to leave.
Right.
Would be how soon he has to leave, and then Marcia would step up to fill in the interim and would have that same ability to apply for the new position.
John Hayford, Finance Director.
No.
One of the things that
That sounds really, really,
Stretching it.
for your stand-up comedy routine, that would be really, really good, but.
well, in all honesty, in Larson's interview, he said he had 15 years, and he wanted to get into something different. He felt like it was time. Maybe he would apply for the assistant director's position and get that boots on the ground experience and still be able to keep his, abilities in.
See, I'm already out of job.
This way, where he's at right now does an excellent job.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, Michelle. Just kidding.
Oh, my goodness.
So, agenda item number 30?
We want to.
Oh, wait, sure. I'm sorry. Hot seat.
So to let you guys know, the board has come to a decision, and everybody, expressed the concern that it was a tough decision. And part of it is we have 2 in-house candidates to consider. And we really appreciate the work that both of you people do here for the OUA. And so it was the board's decision to make an offer to Greg Kennedy to be the new executive director. And Mrs. Trent will be working with Steve to put together a package that hopefully we can come to terms.
Okay,
Okay?
well, thank you.
Okay, congrats.
Congratulations. Okay. Thank you, Lawson, for applying.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, John. Demolition of movable structure, septic tank, and debris.
So item agenda 30 is a parcel that we purchased for the Taylor Treasure Island vacuum sewer system. There is a structure on the property. What you have are 2 bids from different local entities to be able to go into the property and demo the septic tank, well, and structures that are on the property in advance of our construction of a new vacuum pump station.
I can't see the numbers, John. What's the,
So, Weeks Enterprises provided a bid of $23,830, and Chase Land Service provided a bid of $10,200. It is staff's recommendation to move forward with the bid from Chase Land Services in the amount of $10,200.
Big difference.
difference in?
We're comparing apples against apples.
Sir?
There's a tremendous difference, not quite $13,000 between the two. Are they both providing the same service?
The way I will answer that is they both got the same bid documents as to what we wanted done, and I would assume that that's their numbers, their cost of doing business. Greg, do you agree with that?
Yes, I think one of the lower bid may be more suited to this line of work. It's one of the things to specialize in. So I think we're more confident in what the project will take to get it done. They indicated 2 to 3 days from start to finish, once the permits are in place, which would be the county demolition permit. The septic tank abandonment, with OUA's oversight, is exempted from Department of Health permitting. So we'll oversee the pump out, actual full removal of this, because there's going to be underground work for the vacuum station, so we don't want to leave any concrete in the ground or anything that would hinder the ultimate construction of the vacuum pump station that's intended to go on the property.
It's a nice savings.
That's typical, that's not typical of a septic tank abandonment.
Now, typically, you would have to get your own, health department permit, but there is a statute that allows for local utilities and plumbing authorities to oversee the closure of them, and then just report to the Department of Health so they can remove that tank from their records.
In answer to your question, yes, that's not typical. Typical, we pump it out, break the bottom, cave the sides and the lid in, and then backfill. But it leaves the structure there for us to find for our next construction, and some of that construction will be a lower unit, a basement. So the idea now is just remove it all, and there'll be no surprises, because sure, as we leave that septic tank there, it will be in the way of something when we move in. So, yes, it's not typical, it is a little different, the whole structure comes out.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mrs. Trent to approve the $10,000.
$200.
That would be the contract for Chase Land Services in the amount of $10,200.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson.
I've got
Oh, wait,
another question. You mentioned the well in your comments. I don't see the well listed in the board package. Is that gonna be properly abandoned, or is there even a well
No,
on the
they're on
property?
OUA. there's
They
OUA
are on
meter, we've
OUA
already
water.
removed.
There's no well, okay.
Well, I don't know if there's an irrigation well or not, but that would be abandoned, yes.
any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Groundwater treatment plant test well.
second distance.
Greg, you pulled up through most of this, correct? So what we've had with this groundwater, it's an ongoing process that we've gone through at the groundwater treatment plant, where we have looked at the existing wells. We have brought in some pilot equipment to test to see about hardness removal so that we could produce a higher quality water at the groundwater plant with what we have available. And we've gone through that process, and yes, they did improve it some. It went from the high 200s, the hardness is running in the 250 to 300 range, and they got it down to 130, which is getting closer to the soft rain, but it's still going from very hard water to moderately hard water. So it's not the best process. So one of the other options was to look at, is there a better vein of water, if you will, out there that is different than where the pumps are set now? And so the question is, if we were to go out and specifically drill a test well and sample water from, say, 200 feet below ground up, could we find a different vein of water that would provide us a higher quality raw water than what we're getting now? And that's what the ultimate discussions were with American Drilling as to whether that service could be provided. Both Greg and I have had some conversations with American Drilling. Frank DiCarlo is here this morning to answer any specific questions with his expertise of well drilling in the area as to whether or not what we might expect with this $11,000 expense.
Right?
Frank DiCarlo.
Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Steve. I feel like.
1, 2, and 3.
So, I've been talking to John and Greg a little about this test hole. In Okeechobee, a lot of times we don't go to that intermediate aquifer is what we call it. It's usually a blue shell zone. And we find it sometimes in Four Seasons. When I worked at Domers, I'm going back 40 years now, but we had drilled a well, a deep well, just to see how deep we could go. We got a new rig, and we found some shell down there, the deepest we had ever been in that area. We just drilled it just to see, and we found this blue shell, and we started going to that area in some cases because we could get at the iron. And sometimes, I can be honest, sometimes the volume's not there and sometimes it's crazy loaded. So I really don't know. There's not a lot of these wells around, but I don't know what the name of those apartments were that George Goodred had built. It's Nevada Apartments or Phoenix Apartments or something.
Utah.
What was it?
Utah.
Okay, do y'all know where that is?
No.
Let's see.
Kelly's Machine Shop. Kelly's Machine Shop.
Yeah, you turn at Kelly's Machine Shop and go back there, I guess. Okay. And there's an apartment complex there. We had drilled down and had iron water. It was for irrigation, so we started going down, and 280 feet was on a pretty good zone. And we were able to meet the volume requirements, and it didn't have hardly any iron. Also drilled one by the jail deep, and it was there. This zone isn't everywhere. So if you looked at some of those graphs that John has, that Arcadis did, the zones go kind of at an angle sometimes. So you might hit it here, you might hit it here, but I think there's a good chance you might have another zone. The maps and police reports I saw with John gave me, Younghurst, I believe, did the testing. And they went to 200 one time or two to 220 and stopped because they hit clay, which is believed to be the Hawthorne or the upper Floridian zone, and that clay normally goes down for a ways. But like I said, sometimes we hit this vein, it's blue shell we call it. We say we're gonna go to the blue shell, that's terminology. And if it's there, I think you might make a nice well. It's a gamble, I'm not gonna lie about that. But we kind of feel like, I talked to my other guys today, and then we all kind of think it's there. I think I wish I had more wells in that area. We just don't do we just never did a lot of drilling right there. Was nothing there, you know. At Four Seasons, I've got them, and our Bar States, it's there. It's a little shallower. But I normally get all the water I need at 160, 180, but you go down a little deeper, and it's a big zone there if you wanted to do production. So that's what we're kind of hoping for. I know it's a gamble. I gotta be honest. Chlorides may increase a little, but I believe TDS would go down. I mean, you'd still have the sulfur, but you'd probably lose that iron.
Just looking at the data you sent, John, the wells out there were drilled in 1991, is that correct?
I think that is the correct time, yes.
What's the condition of the wells that are there now?
Well, they were black iron case wells. They all have about 75 feet of pipe in them.
Yeah.
Some start screening at 75 feet, some start screening at a deeper zone. They all got about 75 foot of screen in, 40,000 slot, 8-inch screen. As far as black iron pipe holding up, the screen is stainless. Black iron pipe, it'll get ugly. You can pull a pump that's pumping clear water out of a black iron well and air aggravate it, agitate it, or jet it, and you know, the black pipe will produce some iron itself.
Yeah.
And you have to do some maintenance on that casing once in a while. If you chose to use those wells again, I would recommend pulling the casings, pulling the pumps, cleaning the wells out, doing a little maintenance. And you know, because that black iron is black iron. You've been around.
Yeah, that's what scared me when I looked at the age of these wells.
I believe one of them you have performed some maintenance on, at least one of them, acid washed or whatever. There was one of them that was blinded, and you went in, American Well Drilling went in and cleaned it.
Yeah,
at least one of them.
Jetted the screen. Cody Products make not Palomar, but this scaling agent. You've probably used this. Like you put down in the well and you let it sit, air agitate it or brush it or jet it, and then it cleans the screen if you have buildup, and it'll clean your casing.
I was pretty impressed with the gallons per minute on this well.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean,
But that's a lot of screen, 8-inch screen, 75 foot long, 40,000 slot. I think it was 614 silica sand. That's a big gravel pack. Normally, to get 500 gallons a minute, you have to go deep.
we didn't get that at the farm.
Hmm?
We didn't get that at MacArthur's. At
Not shallow.
1,100 feet, we got 300 gallons a minute at 1,100 feet. I guess a different aquifer.
You know, a lot of those wells, when I went in them, weren't 1,100 feet. They said.
I think you drilled them, didn't you?
No, not all of them.
Okay, I know you drilled a couple of them.
I drilled some. I drilled them out to get more water,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them just didn't have the volume.
Yeah.
900 feet, water management sometimes wants us to stop in Okeechobee. There's a huge cavern down at 1,400. It is, that's those 16-inch wells, that would be 5,000 gallons a minute.
Wow.
Water management doesn't want us in that zone.
Mm.
They'll stop us sometime.
So I guess it's if we want to gamble.
And the water quality you've seen in that zone,
The water quality, I'm sure if it's there, is gonna be less iron. I can't tell you about the volume. I mean, the deeper we go, the less we're gonna call it iron. The TDS is changed a little. I don't know, I don't know how drastic it'll be, guys. I wish I had one there to tell you I got one right down the street. But the closest one I have that I can brag on is that, those apartments. And I really don't know how far that is, but Kyle brought that up to me this morning. He said, you know, if you look at an aerial, it's not far from those apartments where we got that deep well.
And how deep would you imagine? I mean, I know it's gonna vary some, but.
I don't know exactly what my quote was, but to go down a little deeper.
10,000 feet.
It's 10,000. I think we said we'd
A
like.
couple hundred.
260. I'd go to 280 to check it because of what Kyle said today. I wouldn't ask for any more money. It wouldn't take a minute to buzz on down there. The way we do this well is we'll bore probably a 10-inch hole and put maybe a 10-foot screen on the casing, the bottom of the casing, and then pump silica sand around that screen and air develop that zone. And then after it clears up, pull some water samples, and then we can go back up to it, you know, the next 10 feet or the next zone. If it's all clay, there's no sense in it, but go back to the zones that produce and pull different water quality tests. And as you pour the sand in, it abandons itself, you know. I don't think there'd be a problem doing, we call it an interface well, with DEP. No, I don't think they'd have a problem with it. A lot of times our engineers ask for this type of test well before we drill them. Sometimes we just bore and they look at the lithology and they say, okay, we just screen from 160 to 190. We want a 30,000 slot screen with 2030 silica or gravel or whatever, and we do that. But this gives you an idea, you know, this gives you an opportunity to test multiple zones. And when you come up to the last zone, you know, you're done. You can't push the screen down. It's full of sand, so.
Would this be strictly a test well, or could it be developed into the permanent well afterwards?
No, that's the problem. When it's done, it's done. If you went down to 280 and you found 30 foot of material that's worth screening, then you could say, let's keep the well there and test off it. You know, because you really know what's down there from 2 up. You've got several test holes in the four corners and around the property. You've got several test holes.
So you're saying it couldn't be used, or it could be used?
If you stop there, but if you pull past that zone, that silica sand that was down there is going to it's going to abandon that bottom hole. And we're going to pour more silica around that screen and pull that water from that zone. And take a sample, and then we can pull up and do it again.
So if they drilled all the way down and hit the mother lode of good quality water, you stop, it's a well. But if you don't, and you start pulling up, and you think you might once you start pulling up, you're not going down.
Now, you could do this if you pulled up, if you went down there and, let's say we find it at 280 and we want to screen from 220 to 280, and you screen that test hole. I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to, or we go down and we test and we find that from 180 to 280 is an area that's got some material in it you want to see. What I'm afraid of is the volume more than anything. I don't know if we can get 500 gallons a minute out of it. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't.
Well, these other wells were like 275 to 370.
200 and up.
Yeah. They weren't all 500, from what I saw in the report.
Right. Oh, I thought you meant depth wise.
Yeah. Like, I guess my question, that's why I went back to the age of the other wells, John.
Right.
If these other wells are this old, if this new well is gonna benefit us in the future to help support the system, do we have enough water with the wells we have to run the system now if the surface plant goes down?
Three run at a time, right? Or two, there's 5?
Two usually at a time, and we alternate. To be a betting person, we have to go in that this is a test well for $11,000.
Okay.
That's we have, if we get a benefit that it does work out, well then, we're so much the better. But I look at this, we're going in for a test well to determine what's out there, volume and quality, so that if we do want to go back and drill an 8-inch well or something that's going to be a production well, we know what and where to do it.
I think it answers the question too, is there something down there, if there is, after this test hole, then you might want to drill a test well and do your testing. If you were to take this project, we were to go in with an engineer like Arcadis or something, this would be a very expensive thing. And I think you guys, if we went in with the knowledge we have today in that area and do this properly, I think this is the way to do it. I drilled some test holes and I can't believe, they want temperature readings and conductivity and talking about video logs and things, which I don't really think is necessary in this right now. We're looking for water quality. And if there's something good there, I think you would turn it over to an engineer, and that might get a little pricey. But if there's a better zone down there that will lighten up your treatment, it might be worth drilling a couple wells, use them as primaries, and use the other ones as backups. The question you had about the steel pipe, that steel pipe is probably in pretty decent shape. It's just going to need to be cleaned. If it was water that had brackish or high chlorides in it, I would say that the pipe is probably deteriorating. What happens in the sulfur well, we get a buildup, a sulfur buildup, and it's black.
Yeah.
And when you clean it, it opens up another can of worms. You really have to clean it and scrape that casing, or it comes back like something you never got rid of all of it, and it'll just come right back. You gotta get rid of it, and then it's like starting fresh again. Really gotta clean that well.
Well, I have a question, because I want to make sure I'm clear on this. I mean, are we doing this as a test hole or a test well?
Hole.
So within our agenda item here, it's saying test well. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on this, and I want to guarantee, because what I'm hearing, based on what you're saying, is it is a gamble, and we're not going to know it until we drill it and try it. But I want to make sure we're clear here, the difference between the two.
Well, it is the whole to figure out quantity and quality, but if we do hit the right place, it could be converted to a well, which then you would imply you gotta put a pump and
Right.
wiring and everything.
Additional
This is
expenses.
not doing that right now at this level.
This well, Tabitha, if we pull back and we go past, let's say we go to 280 and there's
Right.
nothing there, then we're gonna back the well to the next zone and we can
Right.
start testing, or whatever you want me to do, I'll be advised, I'm sure. But as far as once you pull back, there's no pushing that
Correct, back
pipe
down.
down,
Mhm.
because
I
it's gonna be
understand.
full of silica. So if you wanna test that at 280 to 260 and you like it, and we start pulling back and it gets worse, and that was good, then we'd have to drill that out, and we'd have to convert the well then to a test well.
Right, so that's why I want to make sure we're clear on here, so. Okay. So are we saying that we're going to go down to 80 as a part of this bid?
That's what he was suggesting,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
I said 250 or 220.
Okay.
I would go, I'm telling you now, I'm clear on that.
Yes.
I would go to 280. It wouldn't take me another
Okay.
couple minutes to
The
drill down
same
to that and
price.
then see if it's there. If it's not there, I don't think it is there.
Okay.
We've drilled deep wells, we know that sometimes you get into that clay and you're
Right.
600, 650 before it quits. So I don't want to, we're not looking for that. In fact, I came before this board, I came before the commissioners. I don't even know what I was doing back then when they were going to drill the deep well. And I said, why don't you guys ever come to the local well drillers? They, you guys drilled that test hole, and I made a prediction that you wouldn't even finish it. You'd abandon it before it was done, and it was abandoned before it was done. Because we know that, we know it's down there deep. We just don't know all the shallow, this intermediate zone. Hope I answered.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go off of what staff has recommended, that we approve the motion and just making sure we have a full understanding between the two, so.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
Well, I think if we want to fully utilize the groundwater plant, then we need to find some better water quality. Apparently,
Is that a second of the motion?
I mean, and we're not getting any smaller here. I mean, we have to have more water.
So are we saying that if we find new water, better water, we're gonna abandon all those wells and drill all new wells to get better quality water? Is that what we're saying?
What we're saying is that's something that we would look at. And again, the issue is, we can keep the wells we have, but we have to add treatment treatment equipment at the plant to get a better quality finished product.
But you're saying soft water, right?
Well, along with the soft water would come some other benefits, but right now, the biggest complaint is hardness. It fouls, all the stuff that you would expect, hot water heaters, coffee makers, spotting glasses, window. It is a secondary issue that raises complaints.
Well, depending on what kind of water you get into, you can also, possibly blend water at that point between the old well and the new well. So
But the point is we're not gonna know until we try.
That is
That's it,
correct.
at the end of the day.
I understand.
Yeah.
That, to me, down the road, that has to be the next step. If you do find good water, what's the next step?
And that's the operative word, if you find. So we gotta find it, then we can formulate a plan from there.
So do we have a motion?
I thought Tabitha made it, and I asked Harry if he was seconding the motion.
did you make a motion?
I did make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Trent and a second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Kyle's on the hot seat.
All right, we're on, item number 32.
So this is another one of these interesting items that have stuck around for a while. Northeast 16th Avenue, basically it ties into an existing water main on State Road 70 right near W&W and snakes back through by the Douglas Brown area and ultimately tying into a 12-inch water main that comes out of the city industrial park when it was developed 15 years ago, 10 years ago. What the problem that we're having is some of that piping is cast iron. It's very old, it's brittle. We've had upwards of 15 to 20 leaks on that main during the past number of years. It also goes under the CSX railroad. So the proposal is that we tie into the 12-inch that is leaving the industrial park, ties in, I think they're at 14th Avenue, I think it is, and eventually go down through the Douglas Park area to tie in. Here's the industrial park and tie in here at W&W. That's the proposed route. We did an engineering RFP. We received the number of applicants. You have them listed in your board package to do the engineering design element for this proposed water main replacement. So we received the 4 RFPs. We got together with a committee, if you will, to review them. And you have the results of our evaluation in your board package as to how the individual members rank the firms between Kimley Horn, CHA Consulting, Erdman Anthony of Florida, and Craig A. Smith and Associates. we'll be happy to answer any questions. Harry was present for board representation on the committee, myself, Jamie Mullis, and Greg Kennedy. And I put at your place settings this morning some of the engineering RFPs with all their data, pictures, and what they have in them.
Harry? I was a little concerned that whether Craig A. Smith was, had enough personnel to do the job, but that was a minor concern. I think you could probably throw all 4 of these in a hat and pick one, and it wouldn't be a problem. The committee decided to go with Craig A. Smith as our first choice, and I support that.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Do we have a motion?
Would it be appropriate for me to make a motion?
Well, if I could, Jamie or Greg, do you have any other comments on what you reviewed?
I would agree with Harry. I think all 4 of these engineering firms are very capable. The scoring was close, I think, on all of them. I see Craig A. Smith was Harry's number 2 choice by the scoring, if that seemed right. And based on that, I don't think we would go wrong regardless of who we pick. So we've got experience with 3 of the 4, including Craig A. Smith. It's been some time since they've done the project for us, but I feel they're all qualified.
So going back to Harry's question, they do have adequate staff.
Yeah, they've got,
Obviously, there was a reason you asked that question.
they've got adequate staff, and their workload, they've got several new projects coming on, but most of their work is almost completed, so.
One of the benefits that I saw with Craig A. Smith is that they still retain much of the work in-house. You know, they have testing facilities, they have surveyors, where the other choices did engage other contractors to work with them. 3 of the 4 companies have done work for us. 2 of them are currently still working for us on multiple projects. I don't think you could go wrong with, like I said, any of them. It just so happened that, to me, Craig A. Smith was, as far as availability and a lot of their in-house people, yeah, they could do the work.
So is Harry able to make a motion based on him sitting as a committee member? John, Steve, is Harry
Is
able to
Harry
make?
able to make?
Oh, yeah, sure, fine.
Motion by Harry.
I'll move we select Craig A. Smith as the engineer of record for this project.
Have a motion by Mr. Mullenhour,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign.
Okay, so the step would be that I would get with the Craig A. Smith, negotiate a scope of work, fee schedule, and bring it back for review, discussion, and approval at the next meeting.
Item number 33.
So we have NW15, a big regional pump station located out near the airport at the soccer field in the northwest segment. 99% of our wastewater flow goes through that station. It was probably constructed in about 2001, 2002, so it has 20-plus years of service. We're getting ready to add 500 new units from the southwestern service area, wastewater service area, that's going to be adding to that pump station along with Project 3 going down to Okatani. So there's going to be a lot of new flow going to that station. It's time to go in and do a rehab on that station, which would include replacing pumps, base elements, possibly control panels, generators, Jeff Sumner, as the engineer of record, is here. We received bids on this station, and you can see them attached in your bid package with the apparent low bidder. It appears being the industry standard. Jeff, did you have any? I'm sorry, Florida Utility. Florida, I can't even read it. It's right here in front of me. So, Florida Utility Solutions. If there's any questions, it is be funded through a grant through Florida Department of Agricultural Consumer Services, coupled with the DEP appropriation LPQ 0008 to fund this project.
To fully fund it?
Yes. So you have your recommendation award letter. Certainly Jeff is here to answer what he has done in the review of the different bids and which way we would like to go.
Pretty much the total rehab of the station.
Yes. And there's actually some potential new equipment that would be going in, but to replace obviously some other facilities that are there. But it'll go well into Greg Kennedy's tenure.
I'll make a motion to approve.
So I have a motion by Mrs. Trent to approve. Have a second?
So just to clarify, go ahead and get the second, then we'll go.
Have a second by Mr. Nelson.
So as a clarification on the move, this is to approve the award of $2,556,385.65 to Florida Utility Solutions and to issue the notice of award. Okay?
Okay, everybody's clear? Is, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
The next motion that would be up for consideration is that once the appropriate bonds, insurance, agreements have been signed, whether staff or OUA is authorized to issue the notice to proceed to the contractor, Florida Utility Solutions, LLC.
I'll make a motion to approve the notice to proceed.
Have a motion by Mrs. Trent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Jeff, anything else? Okay.
Here to answer.
So we're on to number 5.
So number 34 is Southwest Fifth Avenue. Again, this project is been put out to bid. The bid tab is here. Marmer Construction, the low bid came in at the $4,728,321.51. It is covered by another DEP appropriation, 104? Well, WG 104, I believe. It's a appropriation that we have upwards of $5 million, so there will be a little bit that may have to be paid for when you throw in all the engineering out of the OUA, but there is some contingency money. Anyway, the project is mostly funded through a DEP appropriation. So, again, Jeff Sumner is here as the engineer of record. If y'all have some specific questions about the recommendation of award to Marmer Construction.
So what's the difference in funding?
The total funding through the DEP award is $5 million. The construction amount, including a $400,000 contingency line item, is $4,728,321.51. But if you throw the engineering fees on top of that, it pushes the total up slightly above $5 million. But if we don't use the contingency money, we're back to being fully funded by the DEP appropriation.
Have they done work for us before?
None.
Where they out of?
Sebring, I believe, they have done some work, or the local contract is with Okeechobee County. and then some other communities, but Jeff has done their review. He can talk to more at length about that.
And thanks for that question, Stephen. I thought it might come up. They haven't done work for OUA. The way this project was set up, because the bulk of the work is vacuum station, we needed a GC that did building construction to be the prime. They've subbed all the underground work to Go Underground, who's also out of Lake Placid, who has done a lot of work for us and done a really good job. I can tell you that I checked Marmer's references both with Highlands County and Okeechobee County and heard nothing but good things. They did some work on a public works building here. They did some work for one of the fire stations here. Company's been around a while. The Wool family that owns it has been in Highlands County for generations. They've been in business for about 20 years, and I was concerned about their lack of specific utility experience, but because the way this contract is set up, they have to have the vacuum vendor involved in the construction the whole time. And between that and the references that I called, I gained enough of a level of comfort that I was happy to make the recommendation.
Thank you. And just for the record, remember, the total budget for the project as designed was a little over $7 million. So we only had the actual money in-house to do around $5 million. So we broke it into a phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is primarily the vacuum pump station with some piping. Phase 2, once we secure a source of funding, whether an appropriation, SRF, or wherever the source is, we would let out project 2 at some later date, which is the majority of the vacuum collection system.
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve. I
Yeah.
didn't know if everyone was finished or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is to approve Marmer Construction the amount of $4,728,321.51.
And to execute the
Ma'am?
agreement and notice of award.
Yes, notice award, yes.
Yes. For
Have a
phase
motion?
1, yes.
Yeah, have a motion by Mrs. Trent. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay.
Second motion. Once the appropriate paperwork has been filed, bonds, insurance, the staff have the approval to go ahead and issue the necessary notice to proceed when those documents have been reviewed and approved by the engineer.
Motion.
Have a motion by Mrs. Trent. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Are we on 35 now, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So here we're getting to some other interesting items. Not that the others weren't interesting, but this is what we have been talking about for some time. Staff has been, we're working through the South Western Wastewater Service Area, SWSA. That project hopefully eventually will become final, but we have taken beneficial use of the vacuum collection system driven by Vacuum Pump Station 4 and Vacuum Pump Station 5. So as staff, we have put together, broken the approximately 515 connections into subgroups. We wanted to start with a smaller group of houses, 15 to 20, to put it out to bid to do the septic to sewer arrangements to get started. So we put out one group in Vac Station 5 and one group for Vac Station 4. You have Group C here with Vac Station 4 that we received bids on. And those bids were to essentially on each of the identified home sites to go in and pump out the septic tank, crush it, run a pipe from the house to the street and do all the restoration work. So you have in here, a bid tab of the, 7 bidders under this group. You see the OUA base bid, expected bid, and the lowest bid came in at 77,936, supplied by Meeks Plumbing. Again, I'll open it up to what other questions you might have, but this process that we're going to go through this morning is fairly lengthy. One leads into the other. There's 2 bids for septic to sewer, and then the last portion, agenda item, is where we get into the distribution of grant monies and payments. So this is the first step. Like I said, vacuum station 4, Group C bid, parent low bidder being Meeks Plumbing Incorporated at $77,936. And I will open it up to whatever questions you might have on this bid process.
How many homes were in Group C?
10, I believe.
That's right.
And how many groups?
Well, we have 2 bids for this morning. We already have other groups out for bid right now, but the total number of houses is going to be around 511, 510. You know, we're using a 515 as the number. And as you can
So
see,
some of the groups are gonna be large.
well, this area is, the next 2 areas in VAC Station 4 will be Oak Lake Estates. It's broken up into two groups, I believe, and then going northward from there. This is
How did you break them up into the groups?
by the numbers. You know, we tried to keep the first group into the 10 to 20 range, and on VAC Station 4, we started at the south end, moving north. VAC Station 4 is across the street from the apartments, Oak Lake Estates and condos, that area. Yeah, that's where VAC Station 4 is. So it's on Eagle Bay. So this is the south end of primarily Eagle Bay. We didn't have a map in here, did we?
No.
Okay, I'll try to bring that next time, showing you where they are, but it's the south end of Eagle Bay.
There's such a huge difference between all these contractors.
And keep in mind, again, all these prices, you know, pay attention to the individual home prices. They're all in under $4,000 for this bid process.
Who is the 188?
Let's see, that is CNC Plumbing.
For all the work they're actually doing, the material, I mean, this plastic pipe and go. They don't have to worry about cost for the material, it's all on labor.
I know,
So
but
this
it is a bid.
This is on Eagle Bay, this is not.
South end of Eagle Bay,
So this
24th
is not-
Avenue.
This is not an Oak Park.
No, Oak Park is the next one you're gonna see.
Yeah, there's a pretty wide range in some of these bids by home.
Again, it's gonna be a function of whether they have to go under a driveway, so there might be driveway replacement. Where the house sits according to the street, there might be more piping. What we provided to each of these bids was an aerial view of the house, the lot, a suggested or proposed route of piping, the amount of pipe. It was quite extensive on the bid items as to what they needed to supply.
And you know that they all came out and actually did a physical inspection of each of the areas.
Yes, they were,
site?
it was suggested that they walk the site.
Just a huge difference. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of concerns me, especially the, like, 2515 Southwest 28th Street. I mean, there's There's a $10,000 difference in two of those prices.
On which one?
2515?
Oh, that's between contractors, not the
Yes.
same contractor.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but we have no,
I mean, did Meats miss something, or, I mean, are we gonna be,
Didn't see the oak tree.
well, they were given an opportunity to look at each one of these addresses, so, and like I said, our bid form had piping, restoration, septic tank. They had to fill in some numbers.
And these contractors, did they know that we had funds already available for these residents in the way of the grants?
I can't answer that. I don't know that answer. That wasn't a
That
part.
wasn't disclosed?
No, this was just, no, that was
Okay,
not,
that's-
I mean, I'm assuming if I'm a bidder and I'm going out to bid, I have funds available. I mean, that's a natural given, right?
I'm saying grant funds for the residents to pay.
I don't know that answer. I mean, this contract is would be between the OUA
Right.
and Meeks.
Yeah, I realize
The
that.
process that we have to go through next, if the board is so inclined to approve this bid, our next step as staff is to go to each of these homeowners and say, okay, here's your options. This is what was explained to them before. They can do the work themselves, they can hire their own contractor, or they can accept our bid price, which for one place might be $3,276. That homeowner has to tell us whether they want to do the work themselves, get their own contractor, or accept our bid price.
I think you probably need to know that up front, John, because if I'm a contractor and I'm set up to do 10 homes, that's probably how I look at how I bid it, that I'm gonna be there for this many days, because travel and setup time is expensive for any contractor. And if you go in there and 3 of these people say, well, I'm gonna do my own, that changes this contractor's, how he looked at doing this work.
Well, it very well might, but then how can I tell them ahead of time as to how many it's gonna be? And so they're gonna still be bidding out if they're gonna get 10 or 7 or 3. So
I guess does the contractor know that he may not get all of these?
before they sign the agreement between OUA and the contractor, we will know how many of these are valid.
But they didn't know that before they bid, is my.
I understand that, but before they sign the contract and agree to it, they can back out if they need to.
So have these homeowners been given the opportunity to go ahead and have someone come in to see what it would cost them privately?
Letters were sent out saying, this is what we are going to do, that they have these 3 options. Now that we have bid pricing, we're gonna go back with another letter and say, here is our price to do your work, compared to whatever else you figured out. You to do the work or you to have your own contractor, are you good with utilizing OUA's contractor to do the job?
So I'm gonna ask Greg, potentially this could be your baby.
I've been hands in from the beginning of this.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on?
Well, Meeks Plumbing came highly recommended from St. Lucie County, who's done a similar project out of Hutchinson Island. The difference is that the homeowners were fully responsible for the connection costs with no grant funding. And I guess this neighborhood's kind of rallied together to get some economies of scale to come in and do, multiple homes on a block. The bid sheet was broken down into the individual components of septic tank abandonment, line of, linear feet of pipe, restoration, whether it be sod, driveway, pavers, concrete, asphalt, whatever those may be. Meeks was the best bid on the septic abandonment. They're in the business, they own their own pumper trucks, they got their own means of disposal. They're a pretty big outfit, they've been in business 40 years, they got 40 crews on the road. Their price there was best. The second best price, which was the second bid, was $925 per tank, so it makes me feel that I'm confident that they're gonna, that they can do it for that. They're not gonna be hitting a home run, but they can get the job done. And again, they gotta backfill, so they gotta bring soil in and compact after everything's been inspected. The big difference was on the piping. They bid $15 a linear foot to trench and install the 4-inch PVC SDR 35 piping. I looked at that material, it was around $3 to $4 a foot. Home Depot type pricing, I'm sure they have some economies of scale where they can buy bigger bundles and maybe get a little better pricing. But that's where they really came in lowest, was the piping. Some of the bids were as high as $9,000 per septic tank, but abandoned just at one proposal. So the prices, we were surprised by the variation, but Mr. Meeks has since called and said, would you be willing to piggyback us onto more contracts so we don't have to go through the bid process? So it's my take that we should give them a chance, see what they can do for us. They were low bid on this one and the one that's the next agenda item. And if they can do this, it's going to be a great savings to the homeowners, which was the intention, was to get some economies of scale. He said he could typically he has three-person crews, and that he's looking at applying 3 crews per day to this, with potentially doing 1 to 2 per day. So this thing could be done in a matter of pretty quick time frame.
To me, that's the goal.
It is. And the quicker they can get it done and get out of the neighborhoods, not disturbed. There's no work in the right of ways, but they're going to have trucks and equipment, people parked in the streets and stuff. So we're trying to kind of stagger them so we're not all piled in one corner of the Southwest service area at one time, but have them kind of scotch hopped around to get the job done without stepping on everybody's toes at one time. There's a lot of projects. The average that we've mapped out are less than 20. So there's some discussion on grouping those and saying like groups HY, ABC or whatever together to get some bigger groups. Some of the contractors indicated they like the size that we're doing. Others indicated they like larger groups, but they do have the option to bid on all of them.
Do you know what the size of the project they did in St. Lucie County, how many homes?
I think it was in the low hundreds.
Okay.
Over 100.
Okay.
I can't recall exactly.
So pretty significant.
Yes.
Much different properties too,
Yeah.
on size, length of piping and stuff.
Jeff, do you know anything about this outfit?
I don't, because I don't typically deal with plumbing contractors. The on-lot stuff is usually kind of outside of my bailiwick. I understand from talking to Greg and Jamie both, though, that they're a good size company. Greg shared some of the per foot prices from the other contractors to install plumbing pipe, and they seem way out of what I would have expected.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to trench and put in 4-inch pipe.
Well, and keep in mind, where these are coming out of the house is only inches below grade. So it's not necessarily a super deep trench. I mean, there's a given amount of fall that's required, which the county will oversee that through the building permit process, for the piping. But, some of these trenches at the beginning are probably not gonna be more than a foot deep, and then end up at, whatever depth is necessary to have the appropriate fall out to our clean out tie-in point. So, I feel like it's worth giving them a try, and again, with their interest in taking out more contracts, avoid the bidding process, if they can do it this, and they can be happy and make money, and we can satisfy the customers and get passing inspections both on the septic abandonment, which OUA will oversee, and the piping, which the county building department will oversee, I think it's a win.
My goal at the end of the day is get customers, because that's income. That's what we need to get.
that.
Well, at the end of the day, in the few conversations that we have had with customers, they don't want to go and get their own contractor and do the work. They are in favor of this, but again, the process being, if this gets approved, then we're going to notify them, and then we'll get real answers, because they have to come in here and either pay cash to have it done, or do a construction payment plan, which will be in 2 agenda items.
Yeah, I deal with Meeks quite often.
Okay.
Very large company.
You should have speaking up, Steve.
Well, I'm sitting back talking. Pretty large company. Nothing is, everything's top notch. I mean, from their pump trucks to their vac trucks to the work trucks. Every employee is wearing the same uniform. I mean, so to me, that means a lot going into these people's yards and around their homes and stuff. Very professional company. I was just shocked by the number. I mean, it's, you know, because typically they're not the cheapest because the quality of work that they do and the high standards that they carry. So, man,
Good.
impressed.
Speak up sooner.
Any other comments or questions? Do we have a motion? Do we need a motion, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please.
I move we approve Meeks Plumbing's bid of $77,936 for VPS number 4, Group C, septic sewer project.
Thank you, Harry. We have a motion by Mr. Mullenhour,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Okay. John?
Number 36. A ditto of what you just looked at, except that it is VPS 5. Vacuum Pump Station 5 is on the property we bought up on Old Dixie Southwest 16th Street, the school barn property, where we constructed a vacuum pump station, and that one's number 5. This one, I believe, had 17 homes.
That's correct.
And again, Meeks Plumbing came in at $87,915, and you'll see the pricing is a little, not much varied, but this is all Oak Park. So their total came in at $87,915. The pricing is a little bit more. There's a higher number of properties, but they're very small lots, very concise, small amount of piping. It's just a very tight grouping. So you would expect the per lot price to go down, and it did.
Do I have a motion to accept Meeks' bid at $87,915?
Motion to accept the bid.
A motion by Mr. Nelson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
So now we're going to get to some more interesting items for the Southwest Wastewater Service Area project. As noted, the first two groups for septic sewer have been approved. Now, how do we pay for it? There are two grants that the OUA is in possession of. WG's 105, it was originally for $2.5 million, and we were also successful to get a TMDL grant in the amount of $750,000. Both of these grants can only be used for septic to sewer connections from the house to the street. There can be some construction money involved in the WG 105, but in the TMDL, it can only be for the on-site work from the house to the street. So it's a total that you see there, a little over $3 million. We have used some of those monies in the WG 105. Taylor Creek Isles project, which was some septic to sewer connections to VPS 2. Totaled is $191,866. Holtz Consulting Engineers and PRP Construction Group was for the Mallard Landing project done by the OUA on 3 streets to connect some existing homes to the Mallard Landing project and NW3, I think it was, the pump station that y'all did earlier. So if you take those monies that have already been spent out of the grant monies, there remains a little under $2.2 million available for future household connection. If you take the $2.2 million and divide in 515, let's say, possible household connections, it allows you a little over $4,200 per house out of that $2 million grant. What do we do with that money? What we have set up here as just a suggestion, it does not necessarily mean that this is the final, but this is just suggesting. If we set the amount of grant money at $3,600 per residence, that will save a little bit of grant money for future connections in Project 3 that's upcoming, or Southwest 5th Avenue, or wherever we want to spend it. Again, we looked at if we want to do a payment plan. Our previous payment plans that we have used were primarily for either a big bill or for water connection, wastewater, capital connection charges. Money that is due us, but we really didn't have to pay out to a third-party vendor. We were just delaying the amount of money that we were going to be receiving from our customer. In this case, it's slightly different. The OUA is going to have to pay out to a contractor OUA money and then wait for the customers that use the payment plan to pay us back over time. That means we have some financial resources that are not available for other projects or parking in different accounts. So what staff has worked through is a couple key points. One, raise the interest rate from 1% to 3.5% to help offset some of that lost, money that's parked waiting for repayment. Set the repayment period to 60 months. Don't leave it open-ended to 10 years or 8 years, 5 years, 60 months. Set the minimum monthly payment at $40. So that, in essence, if you do need to borrow money, we're going to be repaid in 60 months or at $40. So it might be something slightly less. And then the last piece, each of these payment plans do require time of OUA staff to set up and log. So maybe there ought to be an origination fee of some sort to set up this paperwork. And for the purpose of this board agenda item, we set that at $75. This is something that we are just proposing. The board can elect to not do it, or do it, change it, but it is just a suggestion, and through staff, we're working through this, and we think this construction payment plan, if we do set it up, again, I mentioned that there will be a letter going out to each of the individuals. We would also explain this payment plan to them, whatever we agree to here today.
So what's the expected time frame of the letter going out once we?
I would hope we've already done a draft, that we could hand deliver one today and mail an original copy, which will require them to come in, provide proof of ownership like a photo ID, and sign the paperwork, either A, allowing us to do the work, or B, to do this construction payment plan. And we'll have to work it through, obviously Steve would have some review of that and guidance on what that framework would be for the homeowners to agree to this work.
So I like the idea of hand delivering the letters because of what we dealt with before on the signing up for the lower rate where people said I wasn't there. If they're hand delivered, could they get a signature from somebody that accepts the letter? So we don't have somebody coming back and say, well, I was never told, I was never made aware of this, or, if you got a block of 10 houses and you got one house that hasn't signed up and the contractor's ready to go, how do you deal with that situation?
So I would only suggest that during the day there may not be someone home, so we're not going to be able to hand it. So that was the idea, that we would mail it, but then the mailing will take 2 or 3 days. I'll offer this. We could probably set up a phone call. We have an automated phone system. We could probably plug in the address, and we could actually send them a telephone call, automated, explaining that they need to contact the OUA office about this connection policy. We could probably set up a telephone call, or we would have to deliver them in the evening when folks are home.
So how are we handling those properties that are rentals?
Rentals, one of two things. We have tried to deliver just to the rental property. We've tried to deliver to just the owner, and we get conflicting answers either way. The renters say, well, my owner never told me of it. So now we deliver to both.
That's what I
We
was
deliver to
curious
the site address, physical site address, and we deliver to the owner when the owner's identified, and we hope for the best.
Yeah, because the owner's the one that's gonna be paying for it anyway.
Yeah.
So-
Obviously, we're unaware of how that works, but at least we've run into this, again, trial by error, right? So if we send it to the actual site address, the owner comes in and says, well, we never got it. And if we send it to the owner, the renters come in, because they might have a tenant account and go, why is my service? And so now we just do both.
Are we doing any comparison to the property appraiser's website as to the site versus the mailing address?
The property appraiser can have both. It can have the site address and a mailing address.
So that's how we're verifying the addresses.
Along with, they are water customers, most of them, so we physically have in our accounting system where their monthly bill goes.
Right.
I would like to definitely explore the phone call.
Okay.
I think that's
Yeah, that's an option.
Yeah, anything we
kind
can
of a
do.
no-brainer.
Additional option.
And I would like to see them be hand delivered in the afternoons, evenings.
Yeah.
I mean, most of those people are not gonna be home during the day.
Well, we don't know, and so we get the idea, well, do we leave it on the front door? And they say, well, we never go in the front door.
That's
We
right.
go on our side door. So we run into that too. Trust me,
Yeah.
we've seen it all. So we'll look at early evening delivery.
And would you be asking for any information from them about, time of day when these, I can see scheduling, the contractor scheduling when he actually disconnects and connects. I don't know how long that takes on a job. Is that
So the contractor.
disconnected for a couple hours or?
So the contractor is scheduled to be able to meet with the homeowner to
Okay.
gain access, and of course, they have to sign a right of entry form, so the homeowner knows that they're coming on the property and again, so yes, that is all worked out ahead of time.
Okay, I'm just curious.
It's supposed to be worked out ahead of time, let's put it that way.
Well, I'm relying on our, recommendations by Meeks,
Yes.
that they'll handle that, so. Okay, where are we at now?
So, yes, sir.
We do check the property appraiser's office for owner mailing address then, or?
We check, yes, the site address to see if that's prominent, or whether they have a site address and a mailing address.
Okay.
Because that's very reliable generally.
Yeah, that's,
Well, if they don't get their tax notices, then it goes in a
exactly. Yeah,
receipt. So
that's what I was thinking, the person that pays the taxes needs to know.
Well, we run into it though, where it might be family members living in, and they still rely on the hand-to-hand type of deal.
Right.
But we do check that. So what we really want to know is, these items that are up here, is $3,600 a valid number or an acceptable number? And then the idea of setting up this construction payment plan. To be able to do that formally, we would bring back a modification of the resolution that details our operations and policy. We'll bring that back next month to formally adopt, adding a construction payment plan with the other payment plan. But we will work forward under the idea that this, whatever we agree to here, 60 months, $40, $75 fee, 3.5% interest rate, we can move forward with that also. So, I believe that pretty much handles where we're at. And of course, just for reference, if it's set at $3,600, this item was supplied to you, if it's applied to these accounts, what is the remaining amount due for these people?
Yeah. So, looking at that, most of them are covered.
There's a significant number, and the amount remaining is less than what the OUA is contributing in most of the cases. In these two bids, there's one that's slightly above it, but everybody else is going to be paying much less than 50%, maybe not. So it's a good number, I think.
Okay.
Got anything?
So we need a motion, John?
Well, yes, sir. Essentially, the motion would cover all of these items, that we can set it at $3,600, and then we do move forward with the construction payment plan set at the 40, 60 months, 3.5, and $75.
Have a
Make a
motion?
motion as stated.
Have a motion from Mr. Nelson, have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hargraves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Those are passed.
Okay. Okay. 38. Again, this is provided through our engineer of record for Project 3. We requested a timeline for Project 3, which is the force main down to Okatani. And you can see by this submittal where we are with the timing for the Project 3. Does any board member have any questions relating to what was submitted under this agenda item 38? So it's primarily being provided for informational purposes, so review and discussion, there's no need for a motion. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. If not, Jeff Sumner is here, representing Sumner Engineering Corporation, company, and we'll try to answer them. A lot of work still left to do on this project. The route work is done, but keep in mind, at some point in time, OUA would have to meet up with a lot of these owners down there, the different small mobile home parks and whatnot, because this will all be a force main. So we're talking pump stations, converting their septic tanks to pump stations. It's going to be a considerable amount of work, but we have to start somewhere, getting the line work done. Then we move in with them and start talking about how do we get them connected. So it's a lot of work still left to do, kind of an aggressive schedule. It's going to require a considerable amount of time.
Will this stop at the river, John?
Just before the river at Okatani, Scott Driver Park, yes, sir. We got a request a couple days ago. I got to still meet with the county commissioners. Big Cedar, which is the development arm of Bass Pro, has requested some information or confirmation from the OUA. I don't know what it means yet because they reference another document that they didn't give us. So I've requested a copy of that document from the attorney working for Okeechobee County to provide that document to us so we can understand the context of the request. Steve, I've kept him in the loop. He is following this also before we can answer that. Steve, do you have any more insight than what I have?
Doing in my report. Very simply, when you buy a house, you'll get a title commitment, and it might say there's an old code enforcement thing or something. It's gotta be clear. We need assurances from the municipality that needs to be clear. All right, well, they want something similar from us. They didn't tell us what the actual items are. I'm guessing it'll be some sort of easement, something, some old thing that encumbers part of this property, this Okatani campsite. So if they give us the title commitment, we'll see where in the public records is the document that's maybe an encumbrance. And we'll give them what they need in order to reassure them that they can go ahead with the sale. The other part that they asked for is a commitment for us to be able to provide service. We have no idea what the size or the scope of the project is. We're supposed to provide a commitment. So that was the issue. So that, I think that's the one there where John has to do more of the heavy lifting to figure out whether we can support. I'm sure we can, but to provide them that reassurance so we can support the project. As far as clearing the title issues, should be an issue.
They were very easy questions for them to write, but it's not necessarily going to be an easy, clear-cut answer. They have to give us some information. So we'll work on that. But again, that's a part of Jeff's work with Project 3 that we do have to get down to the Okatani facility, if for nothing else, to connect our wastewater treatment plant up to the force main so that we can get that treatment plant offline. Unfortunately, we're going through the process right now of doing a permit renewal for that treatment plant. So we will get a new operating permit that might only last us a year or two. And then we'll get to abandon it. But no, maybe more than 2, 3. So.
Is the tentative plan then to operate that treatment plant for the first phases of whatever gets built there?
No, sir. No, sir, because they want to take that property from us. Well, they want to take the property. I'll debate the from us. I think the county's in the position that we really don't own it, but it was in the master transfer agreement. So maybe that's a part of what we have to work through. Do we own the property or do we not? I'm of the belief, if we look at the master transfer agreement, property appraiser, it all says OUA. So somebody coming up with the idea that we don't really own the property might cloud the answer to those 2 questions, 11 and 12. But if we don't own the property, that might make it easier because, well, maybe we give them the treatment plant to demolish. I don't know the answer to that. But the short answer is no, they don't want that treatment plant there at their front entrance. So the object would be that they would build a pump station and tie into our force main.
So their construction then is dependent on phase 3 of it's dependent on our force main being there.
Project 3, and we would have to guess at the dimensions, the size of our pipe to accommodate, so that's what we've done. We've guesstimated flow, and we'll go from there. So really, if there was any question on Project 3, the timing, this is what, again, was just trying to provide to the board so we all know calendar-wise where we're headed with this project. So, otherwise...
Well, it does look like an aggressive schedule for timing. We're pushing it. So.
It's an aggressive schedule, but they understand a lot of the base work has already been done, which is time-consuming. It's now down to the detail portion, which can still be time-consuming, but not terrible.
All right. Thank you.
Again, item 39.
Yes.
Item 39. Again, just a project update, where we're at with various projects, funding, award dates. Some of this will change based upon what transpired today, and we'll keep updating on a monthly basis on these bigger projects. Again, informational purposes, unless somebody has any questions. Any questions or move on?
No question.
Item 40, again, this was an item that was requested to carry over from last month. There was some question as to an update as to where our departmental capital purchases are for FY '26. Again, provided as informational purposes. Happy to review and discuss if there's a specific line item that we put in there as very small topics. Let's see if I can make it big enough to where you can see some of these things.
So my question before, John, on these capital purchases, like we've carried these cameras now, is this the third year that we budgeted to do cameras? So it's in this year's budget, now we're gonna move it to next year's budget.
Some of the cameras were in, some of the other budgets. We have put some of the cameras in on some of the facility areas. The question is, are the cameras, for the treatment plants, we need to move forward if that is still a priority for budgetary expense. Different board members had different viewpoints on them. You kind of know my idea on a lot of these cameras. Some of them could be quite helpful. Some of them are probably going to be there and hopefully of very little use. Cameras, let's say for instance cameras, if we had cameras out in the lobby, outside that where it's a high traffic area, people coming and going, clearly cameras could be necessary. Cameras on the outside of a storage tank or whatever, it's debatable. So if the consensus of the board is move forward with all of these cameras, then that priority will be moved up and we will get them all installed. So the composition of the board has changed a little bit. Is it still the direction and desire of the board for us to install cameras at all of these treatment plants and admin building, or where are we at with it?
I don't know, the capital budget thing always concerns me, that when I go and look at target date, and we talked yesterday, is it a use it or lose it thing now? We budgeted for it, a lot of these things haven't been done or are set to be done before the end of the year, May and June. Because we base rates on our budgets.
It depends on the funding source for these capital items. If the funding source is rate-based, absolutely. It is an expense out of the multi-million-dollar budget. If it is coming from, say, a capital projects, then that is not necessarily directly rate-based. If we don't use the money, it stays in the fund for some future use. If you would like us, was this divided up into rate-based or capital project funded detail?
It's basically capital funded. Majority is capital funded.
So much of it is capital funded, if you didn't hear them, which means
But it still affects rates.
Indirectly.
it very, very indirectly.
Indirectly.
Case in point, we talked about earlier, the restricted money coming in from developers paying their fees. That's the bulk of the money that comes in, and that is not necessarily, the amount of the fees are going to be adjusted by rate increases, but the total fees due is based upon their usage requirements. So to say it is rate-based, I would have to tell you that it's very indirectly rate-based. It is not, when you say a 4% rate increase, that applies directly to things like volumetric charges and base charges, and not these kind of things.
Well, it would probably help me to know where that money comes from, like that chiller you say is capital and it's not based on increasing the rates to pay for a chiller, $107,000 chiller.
Right.
So where does the money come from?
So if it's coming out of the capital projects, just like we said earlier, where the Water Management District or Lakefront Estates pay capital connection charges, that money goes into project funds available for those kind of capital expenditures. Typically, it's going to be like if we want to do this Northeast 16th Avenue water main, you're going to get it funded by one of two choices: revenue stream as an ongoing operational maintenance, or it could be a capital expense. So the idea of, it depends upon what you're talking about. Some people would say purchase of a vehicle. We have to get into this idea that what we're purchasing has a life expectancy above a certain number of years to truly be a capital improvement project as opposed to an operational expense. So it depends upon the item as to what category it falls under. So if you would like it broken out as to what truly is an operational cost, which is a direct result of rate increases, or the capital fund, we could do that too. So back to cameras. I'll take direction. If we need to put that as a priority, then we'll get started again looking at that at the different water plants, wastewater plants, admin building, and get cameras installed. But it then requires someone to use it, watch it. I mean, it's what we do.
Any comments from any other board members?
Spend the money where it's needed the most. I mean, cameras that, I don't even, with respect to the cameras, only where it's going to be used. I can see the cameras inside the lobby, whatever. But throughout the whole entire system, like you said, you wouldn't have to have somebody full-time manning the cameras.
Well, you would have to have the storage device and then be able to look at it. So like, say for instance, we put the electric gate at the surface water treatment plant. A camera there, quite beneficial. See the license plates coming and going, the drivers who's in the, okay, I get that, I understand it. The lobby, people coming in and going out, what they might say and do, and trip and fall hazards. I mean, there's lots of things you can do in public spaces. But general panning the parking lot at the water plant or wastewater plant, if there is a need, you got a camera there to catch it, but the question is there ever going to be that need? I don't know that answer.
Could staff revise recommendations on the cameras?
Absolutely.
I think that would be well worth it. One of my concerns was the shop with the inventory.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns. We don't have anything there currently. Is that correct?
Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, to watch people doing other things, I don't know if it's a benefit other than if somebody gets injured, you have a video of them.
Well, the benefit of the shop would be, say, on nights and weekends.
Yes.
What happens in that, where the inventory is, storage tanks, that type of deal. clearly, there could be some benefit there.
Hey, can I call you back, Abby?
But I think putting the fence up and having the gate was a big benefit to start with. People just can't get on the property.
It's the most bang for your buck, yes, sir.
And having the camera there would be definitely beneficial.
At that entrance, absolutely.
Does our insurance company give us a credit for having cameras?
We'll check on that.
I'm not sure I need to check.
My insurance agent will check on that for us.
Thank you, sir.
But I think cameras at, like the wastewater plant, monitoring up on top of the basin, stuff like that, that comes into a safety deal at that point too,
The best safety deal is if you catch somebody that's going up there and doing something they shouldn't.
Yeah.
The worst case, somebody goes up there and you got a video of it.
Right.
But for 90% of the time, yeah, the camera's there. It's sort of like the GPS tracking on our vehicles. Majority of the time, it's of no value to the OUA. However, if we get a call from the customer saying, hey, your truck just cut me off, we can go back and say, there may have been a white truck there, but it wasn't our truck, our white trucks. It might have been Water Management District, county, or city. Or if we have a line break and we go, how many people are at the job site? You can check all that kind of stuff. So the GPS is very beneficial in some instances, very, very beneficial. Of course, we're going to hear the complaint that Big Brother's watching, and of course the answer is, if you're doing nothing wrong, there's nothing to watch. So there is plenty more beneficial to help our employees than to hurt them. So yes, cameras can be quite beneficial to help.
And I would just say be selective. I don't think they need to be pointing us have everything in every aspect of the system covered. No.
Okay.
I would say be selective.
We'll revisit that and come back with
I
something.
think that would be beneficial.
Okay.
Since you brought up the cameras, I'm gonna bring up the cabinets at the treatment plant.
The water treatment plant. Yes, that's been changed.
When I was looking at them and looking in them, it looks like it's okay, we put something in there, it's out of sight, out of mind, it's not being used. And to spend that kind of money, if we just need shelving to store material instead of basically house cabinets, I think would be a lot more beneficial and a lot less money.
Now, refresh my memory though, most of the cabinets are actually providing shelf space for equipment where they do the analysis. So it's both the countertop then there's storage space underneath it. Both around the sink and on the other side of the wall, it was countertop where they were doing the lab testing.
But you don't do testing there anymore.
No, we do. We don't do the full range of testing that we used to do because we don't have the but for operational to know what the chlorine level is or conductivity, yes, they do the operational testing that is necessary for running the treatment plant. Most of the other stuff, like algal or that, we'll package it up, send it out, and send it to a certified lab.
Just my point, when I open the cabinets, look in, this old stuff that's been sitting in there looks like it's never being used. It's just some storage space, which everybody has some of that.
Primarily countertop space.
Yeah.
So if the cabinets were that bad, we could replace them with full-fledged counters, and then we're good with
I
that.
think it may be just a look at a different option instead of spending $25,000 for cabinets. Steve, you wanted to say something. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No.
I mean, and the main area that I think they were using was that sink, and that's what was in really bad shape. And I think it's probably mostly water damage.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
The way it's set up.
Absolutely.
To go back and do the same thing doesn't make sense to me.
At least not with the same type of material.
Right. Okay. Just had to put my 2 cents in.
So if I may ask, because we just received 3 quotes, Are you saying that we should just revisit how we spend the funds in terms of restructuring the cabinets, or?
I'm gonna ask
should we
Greg,
swap?
what do you think, Greg?
You know, I haven't really looked inside of the cabinets to kind of see what is stored there, but I have done some testing, like customer complaints on hardness, things of that nature, where the operator on hand, when I brought the jars of test water in, reached in the cabinet, came up with a device. The chemicals were in the overhead cabinet as far as the reactive agents. I mean, yeah, it'd be really nice to have some, lab grade cabinets and solid wood where, little water contact wouldn't be a problem, but I don't think, cost-wise, we're gonna end up spending a lot of money if you wanna make it like lab grade, either stainless counters or, with shelving underneath. I mean, they shouldn't be particle board.
Right.
We're gonna be here a long time. This is, a long-term project. I really haven't looked into what's gone on as far as the damage. I trust that the water team down there has, requested something they feel is warranted. But, I can go take a look too and see what's going on with it. I've just done some kitchens and rental properties, and I can tell you 25,000 doesn't go as far as you might think anymore. And, for solid surface countertops or something that wouldn't be damaged by water contact, prices go up. Lab grade stuff is typically like a heavy black plastic countertop.
We spent in the back room $15,000 on a stainless steel plaque.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
So I haven't been involved in the bids to see what was proposed or anything. But again, just having redone a couple of rental houses, 25,000 doesn't go as far as you might think anymore. Stuff's expensive, especially if you get real wood cabinets as opposed to particle board or melamine or one of those other products.
Well, I believe they need the equipment to do their job. It just seems like it's a little excessive to have all those cabinets. And some of it's just used like for shelving, for storing space.
Right.
Like I said, when I opened a lot of the doors, it was like stuff had been put in there and forgotten.
Right.
And if they just need counter space, that's different than a total cabinet, is that correct? That's my point.
Yeah, again, we can look into it more, or I can take a look at what was proposed as far as these three quotes. I think it's more or less just to put something fresh in place of something that's kind of beyond its.
Well, that was my concern. It was more a cosmetic change than.
I'll follow up with Kevin on the cabinets. I think this arose a couple of years ago when one of the doors had a hinge on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a particular board member that said, I want new cabinets. Kevin said, we're happy with what we got. We can fix the door. And here we are getting pushed on cabinets. I'll follow up with Kevin.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Well, no, and I'm with John. It needs to look good, but it needs to be functional.
Right.
And it needs to be what they need, Not that, can you get by with this? No. If we're gonna spend the money, get what they need down there to perform their normal daily duties, and it be functional and look good.
Yeah, I think there's times when the lab gets a heavy use. We're doing like our lead and copper sampling from the customers. Those counters are getting covered with bottles, or the bacteriological runs where there's, many sites getting collected in a day. So they gotta be organized, preserved, this process. So I think, if you were there during one of those events, which I haven't been, I know it happens, you would see a lot more utilization of all the countertop area. And you just didn't organize it in the sample sets to go to the lab or for the sample runs that we do in-house.
Anybody else have any questions or comments about the?
Nope. So would you like this Are we done? Do you need us to bring this back broken out into whether it's expense or capital, or are we good with it if we just find out about the cabinets and cameras?
Anybody else have a preference? I'm fine.
I'm good with it.
Cabinets and cameras, okay.
I'm fine.
All right, fair enough.
Is that it? Now we're down to
Item 41.
Steve?
Good morning, good morning. We've spoken about the bid cedar purchase of the Okatani campsite. That's something that we worked on yesterday, actually. In addition to that, there's this Lakefront Estates, used to be CDD, now it's an HOA. We're doing the user agreement with them. That, I want to say it's out, at the finals, but was either conveyed to the other side or?
Yeah, I think you were sending it to the other attorney, and that's where it's at.
Very good. And then the fire station is another big one, although we figure that is approved, right? We were massaging the documents, but now you've got this new one where it's a 7-year implementation, right? And we've got
So-
a separate purchase and sale, not a purchase, a donation agreement that has some financial terms in it.
The board has agreed or stipulated to certain requirements, right? Exclusionary, use, bring it back. But we need that document to be able to send it on to the county and say, okay, this is what the board, OUA board is offering, 3 acres. We need that document then to send to the county to say, are you still interested? Or is there an exception you want to take and then come back to the board with it? That's where we're at.
Comments, but I think that for me now, the note is that we have I'm missing a new parcel, right? It was it's existing 5-acre parcel. Now what we want to convey is 3 acres. At one point I thought, well, can I do it? Can I create a legal? But it's not. If it were a rectangle, I could create a legal for it, but it's not. It's like a rhomboid. It's got some angles to it. So really a surveyor should prepare that legal right.
And that was a part of it, that the surveyor can do it. We've got a quote, but I think the requirement of the board was the county was to pay for it.
All right, so then now, Mr. Hafer has both the revised deed that says 7 years reverter and a separate contract that says they have to agree to pay surveying, legal.
The demo of the house was
Demos of the existing, anything that's on the ground. All right, so that's where we are. I would say that is ready to go to the fire department for review. So those are 3 completed to the extent that we now are able to give them to the other side and get comments back. In work thing, I don't know if you remember Kyle Upland, he was one of the ones who was supposed to link or connect to our system in Pinehurst Park. So we have a clerk's default against him, and so I'm preparing a settlement agreement that will try to recapture all of the fees, legal, et cetera, that he owes us. I think I'm about halfway through that. I wanted to have it done last week. And now I've got an employment agreement that I have to work on, so that's fine. But that's all I've got.
Have that tomorrow?
this afternoon. This afternoon.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Steve? Thank you. Items from the executive director?
Mine are pretty much all on here. If anybody have any questions, we're continuing to work on projects, close some out. The ones that I need to make sure that the one that we haven't talked about is we did submit a request to Congressman Franklin's office to be looked at for the AMI project. It was one that was done 2 years ago, if you remember. We made it on to Congressman Franklin's list, and then the Congress never passed a continuing resolution, so it dropped off as unfunded. Congressman Franklin reached out to us, said, did we want to put it back on? We said yes. So they, along with their other projects, went through their rankings, their decision process, and we're back on to Congressman Franklin's House wish list, and we'll see if it gets funded this year. If it does, then that will be another source of funding that we can move forward with the AMI project. So, other than that, everything else is pretty much standard. Mallard Landing Phase 2 project for the State Road 78 is well underway, or finished, and we're starting Phase 3, both the water main and the storage tank. Again, a lot going on, very busy times. We'll keep y'all posted.
Thank you, John. Any items from the board? Okay, if there's no items from the board, the meeting's adjourned.